Hello, and welcome back to my channel. Before we dive into today's story, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell, because what you're about to hear is not just a royal scandal. It's a story of betrayal, power, and the weight of legacy that could shape the very future of the British monarchy. Now, let me ask you this. What happens when a single man's mistakes cast a shadow so deep that even the crown itself trembles under its weight? What happens when that man isn't just anyone, but the Queen's own son and the uncle of the future King of England? This is a chilling reality of Prince Andrew, the Duke of York, and the man whose name has become synonymous with disgrace. And at the heart of it all stands Prince William, the heir to the throne, horrified at the damage his uncle has unleashed, and more determined than ever to protect the crown he is destined to inherit. The story begins years ago, in whispers that grew into headlines, and eventually into a storm that the royal family could no longer contain. Andrew's name was first dragged into the public spotlight not for his royal duties or military career, but for his association with a man whose crimes shocked the world, Jeffrey Epstein. The wealthy financier whose life ended in a New York jail cell in 2019 was not just a convicted sex offender, but the keeper of dark secrets, some of which spilled into Andrew's world with devastating consequences. From the moment those ties were revealed, Andrew's life and legacy began to unravel. Here was a Queen's son, once a decorated naval officer, reduced to tabloid fodder, his every move scrutinized, his reputation battered beyond recognition. And yet, the greatest consequence was not just his own downfall. It was a shame and humiliation cast upon the monarchy itself. Royal commentator Hilary Fordwich once described Andrew as even more isolated, with a permanently tarnished legacy. That word, permanently, is a key, because unlike scandals that fade with time, Andrew's has lingered like a ghost the royals cannot exorcise. The family, once bound by duty and tradition, now keeps him at arm's length, as though proximity itself risks contagion. At Balmoral, the Queen's beloved Scottish retreat, the contrast could not be more stark. Within those ancient walls, where royal history has been written for generations, Andrew is treated less like a prince of the realm and more like an exile. Senior royals distance themselves. Conversations end when he enters a room, and the man who once enjoyed the privileges of his station now finds himself on the outside of the very family he was born into. But no one, perhaps, has felt the sting of Andrew's disgrace more deeply than Prince William. For William, this is not just a family crisis. It is a battle for the survival of the institution he will one day lead. Fordwich notes that William has little tolerance for his uncle, describing him as awkward, bombastic, inappropriate, and intolerable. Strong words, but they reveal the depth of William's dismay. He is not merely disappointed. He is horrified. Imagine it for a moment. William, a man raised from birth to carry the weight of the crown, to embody duty, integrity, and stability, watching as his uncle drags a family name through the mud. Every headline about Andrew becomes a headline about the monarchy. Every allegation, every photograph, every whispered rumor is not just Andrew's shame. It is theirs. It is said that William would gladly see Andrew erased from royal life altogether. I imagine he would love to boot him out as far away from the British royal family as possible, Fordwich remarked. And who could blame him? The monarchy is built on image, on trust, on the unbroken illusion of dignity. And Andrew, with his scandals and his stubborn refusal to fade quietly into obscurity, threatens to shatter that illusion. But William is not a man of impulse. He is pragmatic, calculated, aware that every decision he makes will ripple across the nation he will one day rule. The question is not whether he wants Andrew gone. The question is how he can excise his uncle from public life without detonating another bomb beneath the monarchy's already fragile foundations. The scandal reached its breaking point in 2019 when Andrew stepped back from royal duties. The following years stripped him bare, his military titles revoked, his HRH status removed, his public image destroyed. And then came the lawsuit. Virginia Giuffre, one of Epstein's most outspoken victims, accused Andrew of sexual assault when she was just 17. Though Andrew denied the allegations, the case was settled out of court for a sum reportedly worth millions. Money may have closed the legal chapter, but it did not close the wound. The image of a prince accused of such crimes, paying to make the problem disappear, only fuel the fire of suspicion and outrage. And for William, who has spent his adult life rebuilding the monarchy's reputation in the modern age, this was a betrayal too deep to ignore. Yet the nightmare does not end there. Andrew now faces another storm on the horizon. Virginia Giuffre's posthumous memoir, Nobody's Girl, is set for release. Though her death earlier this year was ruled a suicide, her word will outlive her, and the book promises to reignite every accusation, every doubt, every scar that Andrew has tried to bury. Imagine the headlines. Imagine the questions. Once again, the monarchy will be forced into the dock of public opinion, judged not by its duties or its service, but by the sins of one disgraced duke. And so William stands at a crossroads. He must prepare himself for the throne while shielding it from the chaos of his uncle's scandals. He cannot ignore Andrew, for the world will not allow him to. But he cannot embrace him either, for that would be the monarchy's undoing. It is a balancing act that would test even the steeliest of leaders. Behind palace walls, Andrew lives in quiet seclusion. No public duties, no honors, no titles to wield. He is a man stripped bare, a ghost haunting the edges of royal life. For many within his family, this isolation is not punishment but necessity. To keep him close would mean risking everything. To keep him distant may be the only way to save the crown itself. And William, watching from the sidelines, has learned an unforgiving truth. That blood alone is not enough to protect the monarchy. Sometimes, even family must be sacrificed for the greater good. The monarchy has always thrived on the power of symbolism, the waving balcony moments, the glittering state occasions, the carefully choreographed images of unity and strength, all designed to project an unbroken line of tradition. But symbols are fragile things, and one crack can fracture the entire image. Andrew is that crack, and William knows it. It's easy to forget that William himself grew up in the shadow of scandal. He was only 15 when he walked behind his mother's coffin. The world watching as Princess Diana's death exposed the monarchy's coldness to grief. That tragedy taught him early on that perception is everything. A single misstep, a single act of cruelty or indifference can turn a beloved institution into a relic of distrust. Now, decades later, he watches as Andrew's disgrace threatens to repeat that same cycle of public disillusionment. But unlike the young boy who walked silently through London streets in 1997, William is no longer powerless. He is a man preparing to be king. And in this role, he must decide, how do you leave when the sins of your own bloodline refuse to stay buried? Every attempt to push Andrew into obscurity feels like a battle against time. The settlement may have ended one legal chapter, but in the court of public opinion, the trial never ends. Tabloids revisit the story. Documentaries resurface the details. Social media ensures that no scandal ever truly fades. And with Giuffre's memoir looming on the horizon, it's not a question of if Andrew will return to the headlines, but when. This leaves William with a brutal reality. He cannot control Andrew's past, but he must control its impact on the future. To do that, he may have to become colder than the public imagines him to be. Family loyalty in this context becomes a luxury he cannot afford. After all, what is the monarchy's greatest weakness, if not the mistakes of its own members? And yet, there is tragedy here too. Andrew was not always the outcast. He was once celebrated, dubbed the Queen's favorite son, a naval officer who fought bravely in the Falklands War. His early life seemed destined for honor. How does a man fall so far? Was it arrogance, entitlement, or simply the company he kept? Whatever the answer, his fall from grace serves as a grim reminder. In the monarchy, the higher you climb, the harder you fall. The royal family has endured crises before. Abdications, divorces, even Diana's death, all shook the institution to its core. But Andrew's scandal is different because it is not just personal. It is moral. It touches on crimes so severe, so damning, that no PR campaign can soften them. And for William, this means he cannot simply wait for time to pass and wounds to heal. He must actively guard the monarchy's reputation against the shadows cast by his uncle. But what happens if he fails? If Andrew's disgrace becomes forever tied to the monarchy's image, how will the world view the institution William will one day lead? Will the crown be seen as a symbol of stability, or as a gilded cage hiding dark secrets? These are the questions William must face, questions that could define his reign before it even begins. For now, Andrew lives in seclusion, cut off from public life, his days reduced to quiet routines far removed from the grandeur he once enjoyed. Some say this is justice. Others say it is not enough. But the one undeniable truth is this: his presence is a constant reminder of what the monarchy stands to lose. And yet, there is irony here. While Andrew's silence may protect the crown, it also fuels speculation. The absence of answers breeds more questions. Why has he not spoken? What else remains hidden? Each quiet day at Balmoral or Windsor becomes a symbol not of peace, but of unfinished business. Meanwhile, William's image continues to rise. He is seen as the steady hand, the future king determined to modernize the monarchy while preserving its dignity. Public opinion, for now, favors him, but the stakes are high. Every decision he makes regarding Andrew will be measured against one standard. Is he strong enough to put the monarchy above his own family ties? Some insiders believe that when William becomes king, Andrew will be quietly exiled forever, stripped not just of duties, but of any public association with the crown. Others wonder if such a move would only make the scandal louder, a final act of betrayal that reignites the controversy William hopes to bury. There is no easy path here, only hard choices. And this is where the story takes a darker turn. Because the truth is, Andrew's scandal is not just about him. It is about the monarchy itself and its ability or inability to hold its members accountable. If Andrew remains on the fringes but never fully cut off, does that not suggest protection? Does that not imply that being royal means never facing true consequences? This is a dilemma William must solve. To protect the monarchy, he must convince the world that it stands for integrity, that it is bigger than any one man's disgrace. But how do you prove that when the disgraced man is your own uncle? Perhaps this is why William's horror runs so deep. He knows that the monarchy's survival depends on trust, and trust is fragile. Once broken, it rarely returns. And Andrew, through his actions and associations, has tested that trust to the breaking point. The crown has survived wars, revolutions, and scandals before. But today, in a world of relentless media and unforgiving scrutiny, survival is no longer guaranteed. William is fighting not just for tradition, but for relevance, for the very idea that the monarchy still matters in the 21st century. And Andrew's shadow looms over every step of that fight. So where does this story end? Will Andrew fade quietly into history, remembered as the prince who fell further than any before him? Or will his scandal remain a permanent stain, dragging the monarchy down with him? And what of William? Will history remember him as the king who saved the crown from disgrace, or as a man who inherited a throne already tarnished beyond repair? One thing is certain. The story of Andrew and William is not just a family drama. It is a story about power, legacy, and the impossible weight of the crown. It is about how one man's fall can shape the destiny of another, and how the choices made in gilded palaces echo far beyond their walls. So the next time you see William, smiling at a state event or speaking about the future of the monarchy, remember the shadow that lingers just out of frame. The uncle whose disgrace has forced him to confront the harshest truth of all, that sometimes, to protect the crown, you must turn your back on your own blood. And maybe that is the greatest tragedy of this story. Not the scandal itself, not even the disgrace, but the realization that for William, the crown he will inherit is not just a symbol of duty and honor. It is also a shield, a weapon, and a burden. A crown forever haunted by the ghost of his uncle's mistakes. So, what do you think? Can the monarchy truly survive the scandal? Or is Prince Andrew's disgrace the crack that will one day bring the whole institution crashing down? Let us know in the comments below. And if you found this story as gripping as we did, don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, and of course, subscribe for more deep dives into the untold stories behind the headlines.